Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Omega Dynamic 3. Now this is a watch that was discontinued by Omega, but you can still find them on eBay and Reddit and sites just like that. And I feel like this is a watch that really flies under the radar both in the watch community and somewhat in the vintage community because it's going on 20 years old. And let's just flip the camera around so you can get a better look at it. Before we get too much into this Omega, let's go over the brand history really quick. We have them being founded in 1848. And since their founding, they were really, quite well known for their accuracy. In the 1930s, they became the official timekeeper for the Olympic Games. And then moving into the 30s, 40s, 50s, they came out with their Omega Constellation line, which was pretty much renowned for the chronometer standards on that line. And then in 1969, they have the Speedmaster, which became the first watch on the moon. And this watch specifically is the dynamic line, and the dynamic line dates back to the late 60s to early 70s. And when they first started, they had very oval kind of shapes, very 70s style, some loud colors, integrated bracelets, and this was kind of their last ditch effort to revive the line. And this is what we have here today. So before we get into anything, let's take some measurements. Grab the calipers. Oops. We got a diameter of 36.5. Thickness of about 9.5. And a lug to lug about around 42.5. There we go, around 42.5. Now some, quick specs. We have, again, a nice mid-sized case. We have a screw-down crown. We have a signed crown. It's hard to find water resistance information, but I've seen 50 meters. But I would take that as like a hard 50 meters since you have the screw-down crown, so it really probably is decently water resistant. We have a slightly domed sapphire crystal, and it sports an ETA, the ETA 2892, which was rebranded and modified slightly by Omega and made the caliber 1108. Now let's move on to the dial of this watch because I think this is what makes it so unique. We have, a matte black dial, Breguet style numerals, which you really don't see on a lot of watches nowadays. The yellow accents, which are very fun, very cool, very different, and quirky for the line, really, which, fits in with the line because even from the conception, they were quirky, kind of weird 70s style. You got the matching date disc with the Breguet numerals as well, which is a nice consistency of design. Got the railroad outer track. You got that symbol at the top there to differentiate it in the dark. It'll give you some orientation, and you can also find the same symbol on the Speedmaster, so there's a little continuity of design there between the Omega lines. We got the sword hands and this cool little arrow as the counterbalance for the second hands. And not too much text on the dial, nice, clean, and it's a simple watch. Moving on to the case, we have an all-brushed case, very clean. Nothing special about that. The case back, just regular signed Omega. Nothing special. It'd be nice to see a display case back, but you can't have it all. We got a matching brushed bracelet. I really like this bracelet because it's trying to really be its own thing, I think. It's not like a Jubilee, it's not like an Oyster, it's not similar to other Pilot watches and the bracelets they have on them. It's just unique to this line, and I like that about it. We come to an Omega signed clasp. We have solid end links on the bracelet. It seems like solid mid links. I'm not 100% sure, of course. Just folded clasp, but it's very sturdy. Like you can just hear that click. It will not come off. And yeah, nice bracelet overall. There's a lot of movement in it. Very comfortable on the wrist. Now, since I said it was comfortable on the wrist, let's try it on the wrist. So previously today I was wearing my Tudor Prince date with the London dial. And now let's try on this Omega. So we have the watch on my 6.5-inch wrist, and it just wears beautifully. You know, the smaller size, it's just really a breath of fresh air because, you know, most watches nowadays just large. Really hard to find something under 40 millimeters. You know, it's starting to happen, but really, especially if you're looking at a field watch, aviation watch style, you're going to be in the 38 millimeter with the Hamilton khaki field. You do have the 36 millimeter option with the Stova, but other than that, you know, they're all above 40. And a 36.5 millimeter case, especially on a smaller wrist like mine, beautiful. Now, because I have it on the wrist here, and you can really see everything about the watch, let's talk about how I feel about it. If you talk about the dial, I love the fact that it's a matte black. You know, it's not reflective, it's not ostentatious, it's very under the radar. The yellow seconds hand and the yellow lume pips, while fun and cool, and I understand why they did it, I don't like it personally. So that's pretty much why this watch will not have a place in my collection, just because I'm not a yellow guy. But I think the way they used the yellow, and if you like yellow, I think they accomplished it well here. Another thing I really like about this watch is you can kind of tell, but the numerals really have a lot of depth to them. They rise up the dial a little bit, and the curviness can just really be seen from on the wrist. The numerals I love, where they matched the date disc as well as the date font to the dial. It just shows attention to detail, which I appreciate. Again, I really like the smaller size. The crown is a little big, but you know, it fits in with that pilot watch theme. It fits in with if you want to wind it, because I mean, I've wound this movement before, which is ridiculously smooth, and it's running at about -5 seconds a day, which is pretty great for a 20-year-old watch, which has probably never been serviced. The bracelet, again, very cool because it's its own thing, and I think it does really fit the watch well. The all brushed look, the sportiness of the steel on steel, I really appreciate that. One thing I did forget to mention is that this watch has 19 millimeter lugs, which sucks. Let me just show that real quick. 19 millimeters. And it sucks because you really can't change the straps on this. I do have these two straps, a brown leather from B&R straps, which I think complements the watch really nicely, as well as Barton now makes these quick release silicone straps in 19 millimeters. I think this also does go with the watch very well, but as far as options go, you don't have that many. So that's something I don't like about the watch. Again, I don't like the yellow necessarily on it. One of the major things I don't like about this watch is that they discontinued the line. I thought this fit in really well with the Omega lineup. You know, they had the Railmaster, the Speedmaster, the Seamaster, and this was something different. It was a pilot's watch, somewhat of a field watch, harkened back to those World War II Flieger-esque looks, and it's something that I feel is missing in the lineup today. It's came in at a more affordable price, didn't have an in-house movement, but you know, it was still modified by Omega, still great value, sporty yet could be dressy, and I think this is a great watch. I love it. The size is perfect. The dial, you don't really see something that clean, that, you know, nice at the under $1,000 price point, especially from a brand like Omega. And if they brought this line back, I would totally get one. Only, of course, if they made it in a black and white kind of color scheme than this black and yellow, even though it is nice. And overall, I think it's a great watch. It's a great buy. They were only produced for 3 years between 1997 and 1999, so there are a limited amount of stock out there, and even more limited amount in good condition. But you know, if you find one for a good price, you know, between $800, maybe $1,200 for a really good example, then I'd really jump on it because it adds something different to your collection, and it's just a cool watch. Now, before I end the video, I wanted to get one thing in really quick. Another positive of this watch is the lume. The lume is awesome. So I'm going to turn off the lights really quick so I can show that to you. Boom. And as you can see, the hands, great amount of lume, numerals, pips, all very legible, very bright. And it is slightly a darker green than it is showing up on camera, but even then, still a great looking watch, great lume. And it's just a nice feature to have. It's not necessarily necessary to have, but it's cool that it's there.